this one last night. You like to watch
Did.
it first by yourself or an assistant or two? Or how'd you review that game?
Yeah, I watched every phase last night and then came back in early this morning and rewatched it and then watched it with our staff. And same thing showed up, and every time I watched it, just what's disappointing is when you go out there and it's basic concepts, doesn't matter what phase, but basic install, like day one install, and we have self-inflicted communication errors and guys, quite frankly, not in the right spot. I mean, that's tough to watch, and it happened. It wasn't just on defense. There was some plays certainly on offense as well, and it's unfortunate. And credit to Tampa, they took advantage of it. Going back through, one thing I'll say about Baker is, I mean, he was letting it rip. He was very decisive and letting it rip, and I know there was a lot of wide open throws, but there were also some tight window throws that he was able to make the throw. In particular, that seam versus Tampa too. I mean, credit to him. He made a hell of a play.
Is Joe going to remain your DC, your play caller for the rest of the season?
Yeah, that is the plan.
Why do you think he puts your defense in the best position to win these couple games?
Well, like I said, I mean, this is not. If I thought that was the best solution today, then we'd make that decision. But when you're having basic communication problems and you're supposed to be in a certain coverage or a certain rotation and we're not getting that communication, that's what's so disappointing to me, is the fact that it was poor communication. And it always starts with us. I mean, as it starts with myself, and then it goes to all our assistant coaches. So obviously the coaching wasn't up to the standard, and then our performance on the field definitely showed that as well.
I don't know how it works in terms of getting them to line up in the right spot, especially with that day one stuff, but if it does start with coaching and it's not getting relayed to the players, why retain Joe?
Because I've seen us execute this stuff before. So, it's unfortunate that it happened at this time of the year in such an important game. But I've seen us execute it earlier in the year or in previous games. And now certainly are there some calls? I think I'll be the first one to admit there's a couple play calls that I would like to have back in that game. I know there's some that Joe would like to have back. In particular, some of those, 3rd and 3 to 4 yard plays where we're playing soft zone and they can easily get a free completion. Just like there were a couple calls I'd like to have back in the red zone, and that's football. But hopefully we can learn from that and not make that same mistake twice.
Man, I have no idea how chaotic it is on the headsets, but is there ever a time where you might hear a call and you can jump in and say, you know what, no, let's not do that, let's do something else? Does that ever happen?
That would be a challenge. I think that's something that you almost have to talk about prior to. But certainly, yeah, in the heat of the moment, like that's happened before where, hey, we need to be more aggressive here, send zero blitz. But usually you do that before the play call is made.
So, Matt, I'm sorry, maybe I'm just dumb, but I don't understand how the communication's an issue, and a bunch of your guys in the locker room talked about it. So how does that happen? Like, is that Joe not being clear with the play caller on the field, Quay or Devondre? Is it them not relaying it? Like, can you explain how it happens?
Yeah, it happens by people not talking and setting the front a certain way or making sure that the safety rotation is the right way so your backers aren't bossed over one way and you're rolling that way. It just there was way too many examples of that, and it as dumbfounded as you are right now, that's how I felt watching it.
I noticed yesterday Tyler Davis on defense is holding up little cards, I think maybe personal cards. Is that something new that you've done for communication on the field?
Yeah, we started that this year. Yeah, just to help again, it's obviously easier when you look at the sideline, you can see the personnel grouping, the personnel card. I think it's pretty common practice in this league. A lot of teams do that. And we thought that was something that would help us. So we started doing that earlier in the season.
I'm sure your plate's pretty full as it is, but you take a bigger role on defense the next 3 weeks to make sure that communication's more on point.
Absolutely.
I know we've asked this before, and you've said it's just injury, but did you guys just miscalculate how long Jagger would be out? Because obviously if he's out 4 games, you put him on IR. We're up to 6 games now, and he's been practicing limited for about a month. Is there something more than just the injury that's preventing him from getting on the field?
Yeah, I'd say it's more of a miscalculation.
When you say you take a bigger role in the communication, what does that look like in terms of how it's different than what's been happening?
I've got to be more present with those guys and making sure that, we're all on the same page. Because football is, if you don't have all 11 on the same page, it obviously starts with our staff, making sure all our coaches are in lockstep. But if you don't have all 11 on the same page, it takes one guy, and then everything goes to crap after that. And you get exposed. And unfortunately, we got exposed in a really, really bad way yesterday.
Jenny now has a career high in sacks this year with 6.5. What have you liked, especially yesterday with 2, and just all season long, what he's giving you in the middle of that defensive line?
Yeah, you could argue he's been our most consistent performer on that side of the ball, I would say, throughout the course of the season. And, you can always bank on the fact that you're going to get his best effort.
You said yesterday you were going to go look for solutions, so we've talked a lot about the problems. Other than you getting more involved, what other kind of solutions are you thinking you need, beyond communication fixes to be better defensively?
Well, I think that's the number one thing. I really do. And like I said, you got to have all 11 guys, and it's not just on the defense side of the ball. There was a handful of critical plays late in that game that we had offensively where we didn't have everybody on the same page. We had a couple busted routes on a 3rd and 10. You saw it on the 3rd and 7. So those are critical situations, plays that extend your ability to extend drives and get you into scoring position. And that's unfortunate when that happens because, sure, you're going to get beat sometimes. You're not going to convert a 3rd down, but you just don't want it at the expense of your own mistakes. If they make a play, they're getting paid too, give them a lot of credit. But there were some situations throughout the course of the game that I feel like that we should be able to control. And now whether or not we make the play, then we either do or we don't.
So like, is the Evans touchdown a communication example? Because it looks like Rudy's got 2 bad choices, right? Either get over late to help Stokes, or the other, I don't know who the other receiver is, but he's going the other way, and he's uncovered completely. Like, was that a communication issue, or is that?
Yeah, well, Rudy had to take the through route. So, we need tighter coverage right there, and I think Mike Evans is, that's why, the game plan going into it was to play a little bit more 2-shell to try to alleviate some of the explosive plays. Obviously, that didn't matter. I want to say there was 14 explosive plays or whatever it was, just far too many. And so, yeah, he ran a good route on the play. The ball was on time. We didn't get home with the pass rush. And it's frustrating, I would say, when you are able to sack a guy 5 times within the course of a game. You would think that, all right, we're gonna do some good things, and that obviously wasn't the case. We had the sack fumble that JJ made a great play on, or Kingsley Ingabare, backed up, and that was a heck of a play by him. And then we had one other stop, and that was it for the entirety of the game.
Is there anything you can talk about some of the Godwin receptions, like back-to-back 20 yards seemingly in front of the safeties?
Yeah, that was another one. There was one of the plays we were in an empty set, and one guy gets misaligned, we're trying to check to our 3 deep coverage, which the concept they had on, quite frankly, is now one that you really want versus 3 deep, 4 under, and we, it was a bad deal because we never got the check, and so now you've got basically Dre on 2 receivers, and you don't have the rotation coming his way, so it was a bad deal.
Forgive me for not remembering how it works. Does Joe speak the play right into the helmet, or does it go to Kirk or somebody else?
No, it's directly.